Welcome back, my dear literature enthusiasts. It's so good to have you here, back where stories breathe, where we peel back the layers of cinema not just for entertainment, but for something richer, deeper, more intimate. If you're someone who believes films are more than flickering images, that they are texts to be read, metaphors to be felt, and philosophies to be lived, then you're in the right place. And if this is your first time wandering into this space we've carved out together, I sincerely invite you to stay a while. Like and subscribe if you feel at home here, among people who believe that movies are just another form of literature, only written with light, movement, and sound instead of ink. Let me begin by saying that this isn't a standard review. What you're about to hear is not a verdict or a score or even a recommendation. This is something else entirely, a slow, thoughtful walk through the intellectual and emotional terrain of a film. A critical analysis, a literary journey through metaphor, character, theme, and memory. What I offer here is not objective. It's deeply subjective, undeniably personal, and rooted in the way this film made me feel, think, and reflect. Consider it a conversation between you, me, and the story that lives on screen. There are moments when you sit down to watch a film, and you don't expect anything more than distraction, maybe even escapism. Just enough spark to get through the day, and then halfway through something shifts, a line lands differently, a scene opens a door in your mind. Suddenly you're no longer watching, you're remembering, you're wondering, you're quietly transformed. That's what happened to me. I won't say the title again, you already know it. But I will say this, when the film began I wasn't prepared for how it would move me. From the very first frame it offered a paradox, a world of high-tech espionage and futuristic design, yet grounded so firmly in emotion, in ethical conflict, in the uncomfortable weight of growing up too fast. I didn't expect something that looked so sharp and energetic to also be so quiet in its moral inquiries, but that's what made it beautiful. The visual palette is immediately striking. Clean, sharp lines wrapped in kaleidoscopic colors that shift with mood. The animation feels electric, sure, but never gratuitous. Every movement seems to pulse with intent, yet beneath the sheen lies something almost literary, a fable about trust, authority, and self-identity. It reminded me, oddly enough, of reading Orwell in college, the way institutions morph from saviors into puzzles, how youth becomes a double-edged sword, how knowledge can alienate more than it liberates. At its core, this is a film about control, who has it, who loses it, and what it does to the people caught in its current. And that, I think, is what resonated with me most. Because growing up, I often felt like I was being handed decisions that were already made. Adults said I had choices, but only within a carefully curated frame. And if I stepped outside that frame, even by a little, everything would shatter. Watching this story unfold, I saw my younger self in it, struggling to understand a world where agency was an illusion dressed as freedom. The plot on the surface moves briskly. Our young protagonist, once again pulled into the covert world of MATA, faces a new threat. But this time, it's not just about gadgets or villains, it's about legacy. A mysterious new figure emerges, wielding not only dangerous power but also knowledge of Ali's past. And that knowledge, like all good secrets, is corrosive. It peels away layers, not just from the mission, but from the characters themselves. What begins as a rescue spirals into revelation, and with each beat, the stakes shift from external to internal. It's no longer just about saving others, it's about confronting who you are when the lies fall away. There's a moment, I won't spoil it, but you'll know it when you see it, where everything stops. The music softens, the colors dull, and in that stillness, the character asks a question that doesn't have a clean answer. It's a quiet unraveling, and it hit me harder than I expected. It reminded me of a night years ago, walking home after a bitter argument with someone I loved, and realizing that I didn't know if I was right or just afraid. That kind of doubt lives in this film. That's what makes it more than just a spy story. It's a coming-of-age wrapped in code names and explosions. And isn't that what the best stories do? They hide their truths in plain sight. On the surface, there's action, adventure, high-tech wizardry. But if you lean in, you'll see it. A meditation on responsibility, on what it means to be gifted, on the cost of secrets. The film doesn't hand you lessons, it asks questions. It creates silence where you'd expect noise. It trusts you to notice the subtext. One of the most haunting themes for me was legacy. The idea that who you are is often shaped before you even have the vocabulary to define yourself. Ali is not just battling villains, he's wrestling with inheritance, not just from family, but from the systems he serves, from the image others have of him, from the expectations that have calcified around his name. That's what made this narrative feel so pressing, so unsettling, because we've all worn masks that started as protection and turned into prisons. There's a particular brilliance in the way the film uses space, rooms that feel too big for a child, corridors that echo with voices of authority. It visually underscores the alienation of being young in a world designed by adults. The architecture becomes metaphor. A hallway is never just a hallway, it's a journey through uncertainty. A laboratory isn't just high-tech, it's sterile, cold, unfeeling. And yet, tucked within these spaces are flickers of warmth, a shared glance, a remembered laugh, the ghost of a better yesterday. That tension between human intimacy and institutional coldness is what gives the story its emotional weight. I found myself thinking about how we teach children to be heroes, how we hold them to impossible standards, how we project our unresolved hopes onto them. The film critiques this gently but firmly. It shows us that even the brightest, most capable children need room to falter. They need space to ask hard questions without fear. And more than anything, they need honesty, not the comforting kind, but the kind that stings and clarifies. The antagonist is never one note. In fact, there's a scene that reframes everything, and suddenly the enemy becomes someone familiar, maybe even sympathetic. That's when the moral geometry starts to blur. It's the kind of twist that doesn't feel like a gimmick, but rather a long-awaited reckoning. A reminder that people are not their worst decisions, and sometimes villains are just former heroes who weren't allowed to grieve. As the climax builds, the film doesn't rely on spectacle alone. Sure, the set pieces are there, the chases, the high-stakes confrontations, the cleverly designed gadgets, but they're never empty. Each action sequence feels tethered to something emotional. Every explosion has a cost. Every victory leaves a scar. That's rare. That's special. That's what elevates it. I remember watching the final moments and feeling a strange kind of peace. Not because everything ended neatly, it didn't, but because the story honored the complexity it began with. It didn't flinch from ambiguity. It didn't sacrifice thoughtfulness for closure. And in that I found a kind of quiet respect for the audience, for the characters, and for the truth that sometimes we don't get answers. We get choices, and that has to be enough. So here we are at the edge of a story that lingers. It's more than just an animated film. It's a study in identity, in the fragility of trust, in the quiet ache of becoming. And for those of us who grew up asking too many questions, who never quite fit the roles assigned to us, who still carry the weight of choices made too young, this film speaks in a language we understand. Thank you for taking this journey with me, for listening, feeling, and thinking alongside me. If this story touched something in you the way it did in me, I hope you'll stick around. There's so much more to uncover, more films to read like books, more truths hiding in pixels and prose. Until next time, take care of your inner child. They may be braver than you remember. There's a particular kind of quiet tension that builds at the beginning of a story when something beneath the surface doesn't feel quite right, even if, on paper, everything seems to be in perfect order. That's how this one starts. Not with chaos, not with a loud bang, but with a pulse, a feeling, as if the world has been waiting for a storm to come and the sky just hasn't cracked open yet. It begins in a place of familiarity, geometrically composed, almost too symmetrical, a vision of order that feels sterile in its perfection. It's the city we've come to know, humming with sleek technology and watched over by the silent eye of MATA, the intelligence agency that never sleeps. The sense of surveillance is not overt, it's architectural. Everything is structured, controlled, efficient, but even in its cold brilliance, you feel the weight of what's missing, freedom, perhaps, or spontaneity, or the kind of laughter that isn't measured in decibels. At the center of it all is a boy, brilliant, brave, but tired in ways that intelligence alone can't fix. He's still small in this wide world, though he's done more than most adults ever will. But those past victories now rest like medals turned to manacles. He walks through school corridors and training halls as if they belong to someone else. People nod to him, salute him, praise him, but their eyes say something different. He's not just a young agent anymore. He's a symbol, a name, and symbols, as we know, are rarely allowed to be human. What strikes me early on is how the film doesn't rush. It gives space to silence, to awkward moments between friends who used to be closer, to teachers who speak with admiration that feels forced. There's a new distance between him and the world, a loneliness that doesn't come from being isolated, but from being watched. Everyone sees him, but no one really sees him, and it's in this in-between space, still a child, not quite a man, that his latest journey quietly begins. The initial threat doesn't seem overwhelming at first. A seemingly minor breach, a skirmish at a remote facility, just enough of a ripple to raise eyebrows but not enough to send panic through the system. Still, protocol is activated, teams are deployed. Our protagonist, though young, is summoned once again, not because of necessity, but because his name still carries weight. What unfolds from this call is a masterclass in slow-burn storytelling. Because what seems simple at first is, in truth, the beginning of something vast and personal. He's partnered with a new agent, older, experienced, and cautious. Their dynamic is tense but respectful. You sense that the older one has been briefed on everything, the boy's capabilities, his history, his unexpected talent for chaos, and though he doesn't say it outright, there's an unease in how he treats him. Not quite like a child, not quite like a peer. He's navigating something unfamiliar, and the boy can sense it. The breach leads them into a maze, both literal and metaphorical. An abandoned outpost riddled with traces of something unspoken. The setting is a stark contrast to the clean lines of MATA's headquarters. Here, walls are broken, lights flicker with erratic electricity, and silence echoes with past violence. It's not just a site of data theft, it's a graveyard of intentions. They're not just retrieving files, they're stepping into the memory of something forbidden. What they uncover isn't just a rogue operation, it's a shadow, a hidden program. Files labeled with names that should have been forgotten, experiments that suggest a betrayal at the highest level. The discovery sends tremors through the agency, but instead of transparency, there's suppression. Information is sealed. Questions are left unanswered, and our protagonist, who has seen too much to unsee, begins to feel the walls close in. There's a specific file he finds, a sequence of encrypted data linked to someone he thought was gone forever. The face haunts him. The voice in the archived audio log speaks not to the agency, but to him. It's personal. It cuts deeper than any weapon, and from that moment he's no longer on assignment. He's on a mission. But not an official one. This one is his alone. The shift is subtle but profound. He begins pulling away from his superiors, from his peers, even from his closest friend, whose loyalty has never wavered. It's not because he doesn't trust them. It's because he doesn't want them caught in the blast radius of what he's uncovering. Because the deeper he digs, the more he realizes that the enemy isn't outside the walls. It might be the very foundation those walls are built on. What follows is a spiraling dive into a hidden history. He sneaks into off-limits archives, hacks into encrypted networks, follows breadcrumbs that were never meant to be found. And in doing so, he begins to stitch together a story that predates him, a story of ambition, sacrifice, and failure, of a prototype long buried, a name erased from official memory but preserved in whispers. There's a recurring motif, a symbol etched into the old data cores. It appears again and again, like a fingerprint on glass. He begins to dream about it, obsess over it. It appears in his drawings, in reflections, even in graffiti in the older parts of the city. It's as if the past is reaching through the present, trying to warn him, or perhaps trying to finish what it started. Meanwhile, the agency grows increasingly suspicious of his behavior. His absences are noticed, his searches flagged, but he's careful, smart, too smart for his own good. And as we follow his descent into forbidden knowledge, we begin to see a change in him, not just intellectually, but emotionally. He's becoming harder, colder, not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. Because every truth he uncovers cuts away a piece of the world he thought he understood, and then comes the confrontation, not with an enemy, but with a mentor, a superior officer who has known him since the beginning. The exchange is quiet but devastating. It's not a lecture. It's a warning, a plea, that some answers aren't worth the cost, that some questions destroy the questioner, but he refuses to stop because he's already too far in. And because the one person he thought he'd lost may still be alive, it's around this point that the action escalates, a covert extraction mission, off the record, unauthorized, and reckless. He recruits his old friend, though the trust between them has begun to fray. The plan is rushed, the intel incomplete, but he can't wait. He's convinced the enemy is moving faster than the agency can react. Or worse, he suspects the agency won't react at all. The site is a ruin, buried beneath the surface of the city's oldest quarter, a place the public has forgotten but which still breathes with flickering power. They breach the compound and descend into its depths, unaware that they're not the only ones tracking the coordinates. They reach the core, a chamber pulsing with dim, artificial light, and find not a weapon but a recording. A message from the figure believed to be dead, not a confession but a revelation, one that reframes the entire narrative. The voice speaks not to the agency but to the boy, calls him by name, acknowledges what he has become. And then delivers the twist, not cruelly, not triumphantly, but with sorrow. The enemy is not who he thinks. The betrayal is not new, it's older than him, and worse still, he might be part of it. The moment hits like a tidal wave. Everything he believed about his role, his origins, even his abilities, fractures, and the chamber, as if echoing his pain, begins to collapse. They flee, barely escaping the implosion, but the damage has already been done. Not to the structure, but to his soul. When they return, there is no celebration, no debrief, just silence. He doesn't speak. His friend tries to reach him, but the words don't land. And in that quiet we see the deepest cost of knowledge, not fear, not danger, but isolation. because once you know certain truths, you can't go back. You can't laugh the same way. You can't trust as freely. You become something else. Something not quite broken, but certainly not whole. And yet, even in this fractured state, there's a fire in his eyes, a new clarity, because now the story has changed. It's no longer about obeying orders or completing missions. It's about something far more dangerous, something personal, something inevitable, and somewhere out there in the shadows beyond the grid, the real enemy is waiting, watching, smiling, because they know he's coming. They've been waiting for him all along. The story doesn't rush to resolve itself. Instead, it unfolds with the patient inevitability of a tide pulling back before a storm. The quiet moments grow heavier now, each one thick with unspoken fears, fractured trust, and the simmering pressure of secrets clawing their way to the surface. Our protagonist, once a bright beacon in a system built on precision and control, is no longer sure who he is or whom he can trust. The weight of truth bears down on him, reshaping his world into something unrecognizable and fragile. In this part of the journey, the narrative takes on the texture of a labyrinth, twisting and turning, where each corner hides a revelation and every shadow threatens to swallow hope. The early certainty that guided him cracks open, exposing raw vulnerability beneath the armor of a young agent who has learned, painfully, that innocence is a luxury he no longer has. We find him retreating into himself at first, isolated by the knowledge that his past is tangled with betrayal and loss. But isolation cannot last. The very nature of his world's spies, secrets, and lies demands confrontation. So despite the fears gnawing at his core, he begins piecing together a plan to face what lies ahead. Not alone this time, but with those few he still trusts, however tenuous those bonds may feel. One of the most gripping moments arrives with the arrival of a mysterious new figure. At first, this character seems like just another piece on the chessboard, an ally or enemy, the lines unclear. Their entrance is quiet but commanding, their presence a stark contrast to the frenetic energy surrounding our protagonist. There's a calm certainty in their eyes, and a knowledge of the past that feels almost prophetic. Their role is not immediately revealed, but their impact on the story is seismic. This figure becomes a mirror, reflecting truths our hero has been avoiding. Their conversations are layered, filled with half-truths and riddles, forcing him to question everything he thought he knew. Who is this person? Are they friend or foe? Their allegiance remains deliberately ambiguous, keeping the tension taut like a string about to snap. As the plot thickens, the agency itself begins to unravel. The pillars of authority that once seemed unshakable now creak under the strain of exposure. Internal factions surface, hidden agendas come to light, and the line between protector and oppressor blurs. The bureaucracy that promised safety reveals its fractures, exposing a landscape rife with moral compromise. It's a world where loyalty is currency and betrayal a common language. In the midst of this chaos, our protagonist is forced to confront not just external threats, but the betrayal closest to home. A devastating truth emerges, one that redefines his relationships and shatters old alliances. The friend who stood by him becomes an uncertain variable, their motivations murky. The trust he once placed so freely now feels like a fragile thread, strained almost to breaking. The tension escalates toward a series of pivotal confrontations that weave action with emotional depth. One particularly gripping sequence unfolds in a sprawling industrial complex, labyrinthine and cold. Here, the physical stakes merge with the psychological. Every corridor, every flickering light becomes a symbol of the labyrinthine deceit that has ensnared our hero. It's a place where shadows are long, and every step forward feels like walking deeper into a trap. In these moments, the film's choreography shines, not just in the pulse-pounding action, but in the choreography of emotions. The fight scenes aren't just physical battles, they are expressions of inner turmoil. Pain, anger, hope, and despair collide in rapid succession, painting a portrait of a boy forced to become a man before his time. And just when the danger seems overwhelming, the mysterious figure reappears, delivering insights that reframe everything. They reveal hidden connections, the real motives behind the agency's darkest secrets, and the twisted history that has shaped the present conflict. The revelation hits like a thunderclap, forcing a reckoning that has been building since the first frame. This moment of truth is both liberating and crushing. It lays bare the fractures in the system and exposes the price of power, but it also ignites a spark, a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, change is possible. That the cycle of secrecy and control can be broken, if only by those brave enough to face the consequences. As the climax approaches, the story's pace quickens, but the emotional complexity deepens. The final confrontation is not just a battle of strength or skill, but a collision of ideals and wills. Our protagonist stands at a crossroads, torn between duty and conscience, between the legacy he inherited and the future he wants to forge. The antagonist, once shrouded in mystery, finally steps into the light, not as a caricature of evil, but as a deeply flawed individual shaped by loss and betrayal. Their motivations are laid bare, and in this revelation lies the story's true power. It challenges us to reconsider our assumptions about good and evil, heroism and villainy. The enemy is not a monster, but a mirror, reflecting the darker parts of ourselves we often refuse to see. In the final moments, the film offers no neat resolutions. There is victory, yes, but it's tempered by loss and sacrifice. Relationships are forever changed, trust is tentative, and the future remains uncertain. It's a conclusion that honors the complexity of the journey, refusing to simplify what cannot be simplified. The closing scenes linger like a breath held in time, a quiet aftermath that invites reflection. Our protagonist, scarred but resolute, walks into a world that is no longer defined by clear lines, but by the messy, beautiful gray areas of humanity. The story closes not with answers but with questions, not with an end but with a beginning, and as the credits roll, the emotions settle, not as a fading echo, but as a pulse that continues beneath the surface, urging us to keep looking, keep questioning, keep feeling. Because this isn't just a story on screen, it's a story within us all. There's something quietly profound about the way characters live and breathe within a story, how they carry the weight of their worlds, and in turn, how those worlds shape them. In this film, the characters aren't just figures moving through a plot. They are mirrors of our deepest fears, hopes, and contradictions. Each one is etched with complexity, refusing to settle into neat archetypes or simple labels. They feel real because they're fractured, layered, and evolving, much like the people we meet in our own lives. At the heart of the story stands the young protagonist, a boy caught between the innocence of youth and the harsh demands of an adult world. He is a paradox, both hero and vulnerable child, a symbol of potential burdened by legacy. What makes him so compelling is just his skill or bravery, but the way the story refuses to shield him from the consequences of his choices. He is not invincible, he is raw. His growth is not a triumphant march but a hesitant, sometimes painful journey. From the very beginning, he carries a quiet loneliness. It's not the obvious kind born of isolation, but the subtler solitude of being seen but not truly known. His superiors admire him, his peers respect him, but no one really reaches him. The weight of expectation presses down like an invisible cloak, making every interaction a careful negotiation between who he is and who he's supposed to be. This tension reveals itself in the small things, a fleeting hesitation before a decision, a glance held too long, a moment of silence where words should be. His brilliance is both gift and curse. It grants him access to worlds others cannot see, but it also isolates him. The film captures this beautifully in scenes where he's surrounded by people, yet utterly alone. It's in those moments you feel his internal battle, the desire for connection tangled with the fear of vulnerability. He is, in many ways, a child of contradictions, fearless yet fragile, brilliant yet uncertain. What's most striking about him is his evolving sense of agency. Early on, he acts within the framework laid out by others, following orders, completing missions. But as the story unfolds, that framework crumbles. He begins to question not just the directives he's given, but the very foundations of the system he serves. This awakening is messy and confusing. It forces him to confront uncomfortable truths about loyalty, identity, and morality. The complexity of his character shines brightest in moments of doubt and failure. The film doesn't shy away from showing him stumble, make mistakes, or wrestle with guilt. These aren't mere plot devices, they are integral to his humanity. They remind us that heroism isn't about perfection, but resilience, the courage to keep moving forward even when the path is dark and uncertain. Alongside him stands his closest friend, a figure who embodies loyalty, pragmatism, and the struggle to hold on to faith in a shifting world. Their relationship is one of the emotional anchors of the story. It's not idealized or flawless, but real. The friend is steadfast, often acting as a grounding force when the protagonist drifts into uncertainty. Yet even their bond is tested by secrets and shifting allegiances. The tension between trust and doubt in their interactions adds a rich layer of emotional complexity. What I appreciate most about this friendship is its portrayal of mutual dependence without codependency. Both characters need each other, but they are also individuals wrestling with their own fears and desires. The friend's pragmatism balances the protagonist's idealism, creating a dynamic interplay that feels authentic and necessary. Their conversations, sometimes terse, sometimes tender, reveal not just what they say, but what they don't. It's in the silences between words that their true connection lives. the new agent who enters the story, is a fascinating study in ambiguity. Their presence is like a stone dropped into still water, sending ripples that unsettle everything. They carry an aura of mystery and authority that commands attention, yet their motives remain elusive. This character refuses to be pinned down as ally or adversary, which makes them all the more intriguing. What's compelling about this figure is the way they challenge the protagonist, not with force, but with ideas and memories. They act as a catalyst for growth, pushing him to confront parts of himself and his history he's tried to avoid. Their interactions are charged with tension, respect, and a fragile hope for understanding. The film uses them to explore themes of forgiveness and redemption, showing that even in a world rife with betrayal, connection remains possible. The antagonist, too, defies easy categorization. Instead of a caricature of evil, they emerge as a deeply wounded individual shaped by pain, loss, and disillusionment. Their motivations are rooted in a desire for justice twisted by personal tragedy. This layered portrayal invites empathy without excusing their actions. It's a reminder that villains are often reflections of the same fears and failures that haunt heroes. The antagonist's complexity becomes apparent through moments of vulnerability, rare glimpses behind the mask of menace. These scenes reveal a fractured soul grappling with the cost of choices made in desperation. Their relationship with the protagonist is not merely adversarial but deeply personal, laden with shared history and unspoken regret. It's a tragic dance, where each move echoes with what might have been. Supporting characters, though less central, are equally rich in nuance. Mentors, superiors, and side figures each embody facets of the story's broader themes: authority, loyalty, and the moral ambiguity of power. They act as mirrors and foils, reflecting the protagonist's struggles and illuminating the murky ethical landscape he navigates. Their presence grounds the narrative, adding depth and texture to the world. One character that stands out is the mentor figure, whose relationship with the protagonist is both guiding and fraught. They represent the system, its rules, its ideals, its failures. Their interactions pulse with unspoken tension, as the mentor wrestles with faith in a young agent who increasingly challenges the status quo. This dynamic is fraught with moments of warmth, disappointment, and begrudging respect, highlighting the generational and ideological divides within the agency. What's most poignant is the mentor's humanity, their own doubts and regrets that ripple beneath a veneer of authority. Through their eyes, we see the costs of the system, not just on the young, but on those who have long been its servants. Their arc serves as a sobering counterpoint to the protagonist's journey, reminding us that change is neither easy nor painless. The film's ensemble feels like a living organism, each character vital to the whole. Their interactions, sometimes harmonious, often fraught, create a network of relationships that pulse with tension and tenderness. The story never simplifies these connections into black and white. Instead, it revels in the gray, where trust and betrayal coexist, where love is complicated, and where growth demands sacrifice. What lingers most after watching is the emotional honesty of these characters. They don't wear their feelings on sleeves or deliver neat monologues about pain and hope. Instead, their emotions ripple beneath the surface, in a glance, a pause, a gesture. This subtlety makes them feel less like characters and more like people, flawed and fiercely alive. Reflecting on the protagonist's arc, I'm struck by how his journey mirrors the universal struggle of finding one's place in a world that often demands conformity. He embodies the tension between self and system, between the desire to belong and the need to be true to oneself. His resilience, despite uncertainty and loss, is a quiet testament to the strength found in vulnerability. The friendship that anchors him reminds us that no journey is truly solitary. Even in moments of profound isolation, the presence of others offers a lifeline, sometimes fragile, sometimes strong, but always essential. Their relationship is a delicate balance of support and challenge, reflecting the messy realities of human connection. The enigmatic new agent and the flawed antagonist remind us that people are rarely what they seem. Their layers invite empathy and caution, teaching us that understanding is a journey, not a destination. They challenge the protagonist and us to look beyond surface appearances and to wrestle with complexity. Ultimately, these characters breathe life into a story that is as much about inner battles as outer conflicts. They embody the paradoxes of growing up, of wielding power, of seeking truth in a world built on secrets. Their struggles, their triumphs, their wounds, all come together to create a tapestry rich in emotion and meaning. And perhaps that's the greatest gift of this story, that it invites us not just to watch, but to feel. To see ourselves in fractured heroes and haunted villains. To recognize that growth is messy, that trust is fragile, and that the search for identity is one we all share. In the end, the characters don't just tell a story, they live it. And through them, we glimpse our own complexities, our own hopes, and our own capacity for change. There's a certain magic that surrounds the making of any film, a blend of artistry, chaos, serendipity, and sheer willpower that transforms a script on paper into something alive on screen. But sometimes that magic reveals itself in the strangest of ways. The stories behind the scenes are often as compelling as the film itself, peppered with peculiar moments, unexpected challenges, and little details that almost no one notices but which, if uncovered, deepen our appreciation for the art and craft involved. This film, with all its sleek animation and layered narrative, is no exception. Beneath its polished surface lies a treasure trove of fascinating anecdotes and curious incidents, moments where creativity met chaos, where technology challenged tradition, and where chance played a pivotal role in shaping the final product. These are the tales that rarely make the headlines, but linger quietly in the corners of the production, waiting to be discovered. One of the strangest facts lies in the film's very inception. The project began as a modest continuation of a beloved franchise, intended primarily to please fans and extend a familiar story. But almost immediately, the creators realized they were dealing with something far bigger than expected. Early meetings were described by insiders as electric, full of heated debates about tone, themes, and direction. The creative team wanted to honor the original's spirit while pushing boundaries, both narratively and visually. This tension between tradition and innovation set the tone for what would become a labor of love and a source of constant challenge. From the outset, technology played a curious role in shaping the film. The animation studio employed cutting-edge software that was, at the time, still in beta testing phases. This meant the animators were essentially experimenting live, often encountering bugs and glitches that could, frustratingly, erase hours of painstaking work. Yet these technological hiccups sometimes led to unexpected creative breakthroughs. For example, a malfunction in the rendering of certain light effects caused a shimmering glow around the protagonist's silhouette that the team found so striking they chose to keep it, making it a signature visual motif. It's a reminder that sometimes the most beautiful details emerge not from careful planning, but from happy accidents. Another behind-the-scenes quirk involved the voice acting sessions. The young actor who voices the protagonist was only 13 when recording began. The production team recounts that the sessions were a mixture of professionalism and youthful exuberance, but what stands out is how his voice subtly changed over the course of the months they recorded. Early recordings captured a higher, more youthful tone, but as puberty progressed, his voice deepened. Instead of re-recording or compensating, the directors decided to incorporate these changes into the character's arc, reinforcing the theme of growth and transition in a way no script could have predicted. Perhaps one of the most unexpected stories comes from the film's sound design. The creators sought to create an auditory experience that was immersive but also symbolic. To achieve this, they collaborated with a group of avant-garde musicians known for their experimental use of everyday objects. In one scene, for instance, the tension-filled corridors of the agency were scored not with traditional instruments, but with carefully recorded sounds of metal scraping, distant echoes, and the subtle hum of electricity. The musicians even recorded the sounds of office equipment, fax machines, printers, and keyboards, to create an unsettling mechanical rhythm that underscored the coldness of institutional power. It's a detail so subtle it might be missed on a casual watch, but it enriches the atmosphere in ways that are felt rather than heard. A curious production anecdote involves one of the film's pivotal action sequences. The team had designed an elaborate chase through a futuristic cityscape, involving multiple layers of animation and complex choreography. During the initial tests, a software glitch caused the protagonist's character model to momentarily swap outfits mid-scene, from his usual sleek spy gear to a vibrant school uniform. The animators found this glitch so amusing that they shared clips internally for weeks, joking about it as the secret alternate universe. Though it never made it into the final cut, this glitch became a kind of inside joke among the crew, a lighthearted counterpoint to the film's often intense tone. The film's art direction also has an unusual story. The color palette, so distinctive and evocative, was inspired by a rather unexpected source, the natural world during certain times of day in a city the director once visited as a child. Early morning mist, twilight hues, and the deep blues of night all found their way into the backgrounds and lighting. The director explained in interviews how these memories of fleeting moments, the way the light shifted on concrete and glass, became metaphors for the protagonist's own fleeting innocence and growing awareness. It's a subtle layer of poetry that elevates the film beyond its genre trappings, One of the most fascinating tidbits comes from the design of the film's antagonist. Rather than crafting a villain who was purely menacing, the creators opted for a more nuanced approach. They took inspiration from historical figures who had been both revered and reviled, blending traits of charisma, vulnerability, and ruthless ambition. To capture this complexity, the animator in charge spent weeks studying old photographs, speeches, and biographical accounts, trying to understand how power could corrupt and humanize simultaneously. The result is a villain who is not just an obstacle but a tragic figure, one whose motivations feel both personal and universal. There was also an unusual casting choice for one of the secondary characters, a role that might have been overlooked in a less layered film. The actor cast was a newcomer with no prior experience in voice work. The decision was based largely on the raw emotion they brought to the audition, something the directors felt couldn't be taught or replicated. Their voice added a rough authenticity to the character, grounding fantastical elements in something tangible. The risk paid off, with the actor going on to receive praise for their subtle but impactful performance. On the technical side, the film pushed the boundaries of frame rates and animation smoothness. The team experimented with varying frame rates within scenes to evoke different emotional states, a technique rarely used in animated features. For example, moments of intense action were rendered at a higher frame rate for fluidity and energy, while scenes of introspection slowed down, sometimes dipping below standard frame rates to create a feeling of disorientation and contemplation. This subtle manipulation of time and motion is something that rewards viewers who watch closely and multiple times. One of the most charming behind-the-scenes stories involves the director's personal attachment to the film's soundtrack. Despite the futuristic setting, the director insisted on incorporating traditional instruments from their own cultural heritage into the score. This fusion created a unique soundscape that bridges past and future, technology and tradition. It was a deliberate choice to remind audiences that even in a world of advanced tech, roots and history remain vital. Musicians brought ancient instruments into a modern studio and layered them with electronic beats, crafting a sonic tapestry as rich as the animation itself. Another lesser-known fact is about the film's script development. The writers went through dozens of drafts, and early versions of the story were darker, even more politically charged. Some test screenings suggested that certain themes might alienate younger viewers or casual audiences. Rather than diluting the story, the team chose to embed those darker themes more subtly, allowing them to surface through symbolism and character arcs. This layered approach means the film works on multiple levels, entertaining younger audiences while offering rich material for older viewers who seek deeper meaning. The production faced unusual challenges due to the global nature of the team. Animators, writers, sound designers, and directors were spread across continents, working across time zones and cultures. Communication wasn't always smooth. There are accounts of late-night virtual meetings where a single misunderstood phrase sparked hours of debate. Yet these cultural exchanges also enriched the film, infusing it with a diversity of perspectives that broadened its appeal and complexity. The team learned to embrace differences, turning potential conflicts into creative fuel. One particularly surreal moment during production involved a technical glitch that caused a sequence of frames to repeat endlessly on one animator's screen, a sort of digital déjà vu. The animator described the experience as unsettling but also strangely hypnotic, likening it to watching a loop of memories that refused to move forward. Inspired by this, the team incorporated a dreamlike sequence into the film where time seems to freeze and repeat, capturing the disorientation of the protagonist's internal struggle. The film's costume design also holds curious stories. Since it's an animated feature, costumes don't exist in the physical sense, but the designers crafted detailed style guides and references to ensure consistency and meaning in every outfit. The protagonist's gear, for instance, is not just functional but symbolic. Subtle variations in color and texture mark his emotional and narrative journey, from sleek confidence to moments of vulnerability. This visual storytelling through clothing is a nod to classic literature, where garments often carry metaphorical weight. Even the film's title sequence carries a hidden layer. The typography used isn't random. It's a carefully chosen font inspired by futuristic architecture and calligraphy. The designers wanted the opening to feel like a portal, an invitation into a world where tradition and innovation collide. The sequence includes subtle animations that echo key themes, such as fragmented letters symbolizing broken trust and shifting alliances. It's a small but meaningful touch that rewards attentive viewers. Interestingly, the film was almost delayed due to a dispute over a minor character's arc. The creative team was divided. Some wanted to expand the character's role to explore themes of redemption, while others feared it would detract from the main narrative. After intense discussions, a compromise was reached. The character's story was streamlined but enriched with symbolic imagery and brief, poignant moments. This debate highlights how even small choices can ripple through the storytelling, shaping tone and meaning. There's also a peculiar anecdote about the film's marketing campaign. In an effort to engage audiences, the studio created an alternate reality game, ARG, with puzzles and clues embedded in trailers, posters, and online content. Fans who followed the game uncovered backstory elements and secret messages that deepened their understanding of the film's world. This interactive experience blurred the lines between fiction and reality, creating a community of dedicated viewers who felt personally connected to the narrative. It's a testament to the evolving ways stories are told and experienced. During one intense week of production, the team encountered a power outage that halted work for days. Rather than see it as a setback, the director used the downtime for reflection and rewrites, leading to a crucial script adjustment that enriched the film's emotional core. This incident is a reminder that sometimes obstacles become opportunities, moments where stillness leads to clarity. Finally, the film's reception itself contains curious echoes. Despite its sophistication and layered storytelling, it found unexpected resonance among younger audiences who connected with the protagonist's journey of self-discovery and courage. Parents and critics alike praised its ability to speak across generations. This cross-generational appeal, the creators say, was a happy accident, a byproduct of telling a story that was honest, human, and deeply felt. These strange and wonderful behind-the-scenes stories remind us that filmmaking is a living, breathing process. It's shaped by technology and tradition, by personality and circumstance, by chance and choice. The film we see is just the surface. Beneath lies a web of human experiences, decisions, and moments that make it not just a movie, but a work of art. And so, when you watch the film again, perhaps you'll catch a shimmer of that accidental glow, or hear the subtle echo of an office machine turned music. Maybe you'll notice the shift in a voice or the flicker of a costume detail that tells a story all its own. These are the strange facts, the hidden threads that weave through the film's fabric, inviting us to look closer, listen deeper, and appreciate the wonder of creation. There's a subtle art in the way certain events within a film resonate far beyond their immediate narrative purpose, echoing through the viewer's mind long after the credits fade. These moments, carefully crafted and woven into the fabric of the story, serve not just as plot points but as gateways to deeper meaning. The film at hand is rich with such events, scenes that invite us to pause, reflect, and engage with the story on a level that transcends spectacle. To truly understand its power, we must approach these key moments not simply as plot mechanics, but as critical fulcrums that shape the film's emotional and thematic core. One of the earliest pivotal scenes emerges not from explosive action, but from quiet tension, a meeting between the young protagonist and his mentor figure. On the surface, it reads as a routine debriefing, a passing of orders, but beneath lies a charged exchange filled with unspoken doubts and generational conflict. The mentor's words carry the weight of institutional authority, yet also reveal cracks of uncertainty and regret. This dialogue embodies the film's central conflict between individual morality and systemic obedience. From a critical perspective, this scene acts as a microcosm of the larger narrative tension. It foregrounds questions about authority and agency, how systems shape individuals, and how individuals push back. The mentor's tone shifts between encouragement and veiled warning, encapsulating the ambivalence of those caught within hierarchical power structures. This moment forces the protagonist, and by extension the audience, to confront the cost of compliance and the courage required for dissent. The emotional resonance here is palpable. It's a reminder that institutions are not monoliths, but collections of flawed humans, each wrestling with conscience and compromise. The scene's restrained pacing and intimate framing invite viewers into a space of reflection, highlighting that sometimes the most profound battles are fought not in the field, but in conversation. Another event that demands critical attention is the discovery of the hidden data cache, a sequence that shifts the narrative from external conflict to internal reckoning. The scene is suffused with atmosphere. Dim lighting, humming machines, the slow unraveling of secrets that rewrite the protagonist's understanding of his world. This discovery is more than a plot device. It's a metaphor for awakening, for the often painful journey from innocence to knowledge. Critically, this moment operates on multiple levels. It challenges the notion of truth as absolute, suggesting instead that history is layered and contested. The encrypted files symbolize the opacity of power and the fragility of memory. As the protagonist deciphers these secrets, the film asks us to consider who controls narratives and what happens when those narratives are destabilized. The scene's tension is amplified by its sensory design. The flickering lights echo the flickering certainty in the protagonist's mind. The slow pacing forces the audience to inhabit his doubt and fear, creating empathy through immersion. This event marks a turning point, a loss of naivete that deepens the film's thematic complexity. A particularly striking sequence involves a chase through the city's neon-lit streets, a moment that seems, at first glance, to prioritize adrenaline and spectacle. Yet beneath the kinetic energy lies a carefully constructed metaphor for the protagonist's psychological state. The labyrinthine urban environment mirrors his internal confusion and the pressures constricting his freedom. Analyzing this sequence critically reveals the film's mastery of visual storytelling. The interplay of light and shadow, speed and stillness, conveys a sense of disorientation and urgency. The city itself becomes a character, cold, indifferent, and omnipresent. The chase is not just a physical pursuit, but a symbolic struggle against forces that seek to define and control identity. This scene's reception among audiences was notable for its visceral impact, drawing praise not only for technical prowess, but for its narrative symbolism. It stands as an exemplar of how action can serve emotional and thematic functions, elevating what might be dismissed as spectacle into something resonant. Perhaps one of the film's most poignant moments is a confrontation between the protagonist and the enigmatic new figure, whose allegiance remains uncertain. Their dialogue is laden with subtext, questions about loyalty, identity, and the nature of truth. The scene is a chess match of words and glances, where every phrase carries double meaning. From a critical viewpoint, this exchange foregrounds the film's exploration of ambiguity and moral complexity. Neither character offers easy answers. Instead, they embody the struggle to reconcile past and present, personal and political. The scene resists closure, reflecting the film's broader commitment to nuance over simplicity. Emotionally, the scene resonates because it captures the loneliness of bearing difficult truths. Both characters are isolated by knowledge, caught between competing loyalties. Their interaction humanizes the abstract themes of betrayal and trust, grounding them in lived experience. This moment invites viewers to grapple with discomfort and uncertainty, a hallmark of mature storytelling. The antagonist's reveal is another critical event that reshapes the narrative's trajectory. Rather than a one-dimensional villain, the film offers a character whose motives are intertwined with loss and idealism. This complexity challenges conventional notions of good and evil, inviting a more sophisticated engagement with conflict. Critically, this choice deepens the film's thematic texture. The antagonist's layered motivations provoke questions about the cost of ambition and the nature of justice. Their relationship with the protagonist is fraught with shared history, emphasizing the personal stakes beneath political conflict. The emotional impact of this reveal is profound. It transforms the narrative from a battle of opposites into a dialogue about empathy and redemption. Viewers are prompted to consider the humanity in those we label enemies, complicating their emotional responses and fostering reflection. Another moment ripe for critical analysis is the protagonist's moment of crisis, the point at which he must choose between loyalty to the agency and his own moral compass. This internal conflict is depicted with restraint and subtlety, avoiding melodrama in favor of quiet intensity. From a thematic standpoint, this choice encapsulates the film's interrogation of agency and identity. It illustrates the tension between external expectation and inner truth, a universal human struggle. The scene's power lies in its ambiguity. The protagonist's decision is not presented as heroic or villainous, but as fraught and consequential. The emotional resonance here is grounded in vulnerability. The film invites viewers to inhabit the protagonist's uncertainty, to feel the weight of responsibility and the pain of potential loss. It's a moment that lingers, encouraging empathy and introspection. The climax, an explosive confrontation that blends action with emotional catharsis, serves as the film's thematic and narrative crescendo. Here the external conflicts collide with internal ones, creating a tapestry of tension, revelation, and resolution. Critically, the climax succeeds by refusing to separate spectacle from substance. The action sequences are choreographed to reflect the characters' emotional states, reinforcing the film's commitment to integrated storytelling. The narrative twists that unfold challenge expectations, providing not just surprise but insight. This culmination resonates emotionally because it honors the story's complexity. Victories are tempered by loss, and resolutions remain tentative. The film acknowledges that change is never absolute, and that growth often comes with sacrifice. The denouement, with its quiet reflection and open-ended questions, extends the film's impact beyond its runtime. It invites viewers to carry the story's themes into their own lives, to wrestle with the ambiguities of truth, loyalty, and selfhood. From a critical perspective, the film's ending exemplifies its commitment to complexity and nuance. It resists closure in favor of possibility, challenging audiences to embrace uncertainty. This approach elevates the film within its genre, positioning it as a thoughtful meditation rather than mere entertainment. The emotional resonance of the conclusion is subtle yet profound. It offers no easy answers, but instead a space for contemplation and hope. The protagonist's journey ends not with finality, but with an invitation to continue seeking understanding. Throughout the film, significant events are woven together by recurring themes: the fragility of trust, the burden of legacy, and the search for identity. These motifs gain power through repetition and variation, creating a rich emotional tapestry. Critically, the film's thematic coherence is a key factor in its impact. It refuses to compartmentalize ideas, instead allowing themes to inform character development and plot progression. This integration fosters a sense of unity and depth. Emotionally, these themes resonate because they reflect universal human experiences. The film's portrayal of doubt, courage, and connection speaks to our own struggles, inviting empathy and self-reflection. The film's reception reflects the power of its critical and emotional dimensions. Audiences and critics alike praised its maturity, complexity, and artistry. Many highlighted its ability to engage with difficult themes without sacrificing accessibility. This reception underscores the film's success in balancing entertainment with intellectual depth. It demonstrates that animated features can be vehicles for profound storytelling, capable of reaching diverse audiences. In sum, the film's significant events serve as critical pivot points, shaping narrative and emotional trajectories. Through careful construction and thematic richness, these moments elevate the film beyond genre conventions, creating a work that is both engaging and thought-provoking. By examining these events through a critical lens, we uncover the layers of meaning and emotion that make the film resonate so deeply. It is a testament to the power of cinema to reflect, challenge, and enrich our understanding of the human condition. And so, as we revisit these moments, we are reminded that every scene, every interaction, carries the potential to illuminate truths about ourselves and the world we inhabit. The film invites us not just to watch, but to think, to feel, and to engage, a rare and precious gift in storytelling. The making of a film is often described as a journey, a voyage marked by unexpected twists, moments of inspiration, and challenges that test the resolve of everyone involved. But the making of this particular film was more than a journey. It was an odyssey of creativity and collaboration, of late nights and early mornings, of whispered ideas and bold experiments. To truly understand the essence of the story on screen, one must first delve into the tapestry of its creation, the hidden corners of the studio, the hum of computers, the passionate debates, and the fleeting moments of serendipity that shaped every frame. From the very beginning, the filmmakers set out to craft something that transcended typical expectations. They wanted to push boundaries, not just in animation quality or storytelling, but in how a film could feel alive in the digital age. The production process was anything but linear. It was a dance of iterative creativity, where ideas were tested, discarded, and reborn in new forms. This spirit of experimentation permeated the studio, creating an environment where mistakes were not failures, but stepping stones to innovation. One of the most fascinating insights into the production comes from the animation team, who recount that the project was as much about mastering new technology as about traditional artistry. The studio invested heavily in cutting-edge software that allowed for unprecedented fluidity and detail in character movements. However, because much of this technology was still in development, the animators often found themselves troubleshooting bugs mid-production. There's a particular story of a scene where a character's shadow wouldn't align correctly, creating a ghost-like double that refused to stay in place. Rather than fix it immediately, the director saw potential in this eerie effect and asked the team to enhance it. That accidental shadow became a visual motif representing the character's inner conflict, a haunting reminder that sometimes glitches tell a deeper story. The voice recording sessions offer another window into the film's creation. The protagonist's voice actor, a teenager at the time, recorded lines over several months, during which his voice matured noticeably. Rather than re-recording to maintain consistency, the directors embraced this evolution, allowing the character's voice to deepen naturally alongside the unfolding story. This decision added a layer of authenticity, and mirrored the character's own coming-of-age journey. The actor later recalled feeling both nervous and exhilarated, especially during intense emotional scenes, noting that the crew's supportive atmosphere helped him tap into a depth of feeling he hadn't known he possessed. Behind the scenes, the sound design was a world unto itself. The team collaborated with experimental musicians who specialized in creating soundscapes from everyday objects. To evoke the cold, mechanical atmosphere of the intelligence agency, they recorded sounds ranging from flickering fluorescent lights to the rhythmic tapping of keyboards. These sounds were layered and manipulated to form an auditory environment that was at once familiar and unsettling. One of the sound designers described how they would spend hours recording the hum of a vending machine, then slow it down and pitch shift it to create an otherworldly drone that plays subtly beneath tense scenes. This meticulous attention to sound helped the film achieve an immersive atmosphere that draws viewers in on a sensory level. The film's art direction was no less ambitious. Visual style draws inspiration from a blend of futuristic design and natural phenomena, a contrast that adds depth to the world building. The director shared that a trip to a city known for its misty mornings and glass skyscrapers sparked the palette of cool blues and muted grays punctuated by vibrant neon highlights. This interplay of light and shadow not only enhanced the aesthetic appeal, but also served as a metaphor for the story's themes of clarity and ambiguity. The background artists spent weeks experimenting with digital brushes to capture the subtle textures of rain-soaked streets and reflective surfaces, creating a living, breathing cityscape. Interestingly, the film's costume design, though entirely digital, was approached with the same care as in live-action productions. Each character's outfit was designed to reflect their personality and narrative arc. The protagonist's gear, for example, shifts in tone and texture throughout the film, moving from sleek and polished to worn and battle-scarred as his journey progresses. The costume designers created detailed style guides to maintain consistency, complete with notes on fabric behavior and color symbolism. One amusing anecdote from the team recounts how a minor character's jacket was modeled after the director's own favorite coat, a little personal touch that added warmth to the digital world. The production was not without its hurdles. Due to the international composition of the team, communication across time zones sometimes became a significant challenge. Late-night video calls and asynchronous messaging were the norm, and misunderstandings occasionally led to rework. There's a memorable story of a misinterpreted note that resulted in an entire scene being animated twice, once with a character portrayed as stoic and once with a more expressive performance. While frustrating at the time, the director later praised the situation, saying it offered unexpected insights into character interpretation and opened new creative avenues. A particularly charming behind-the-scenes moment involves the creation of a key emotional scene between the protagonist and his closest friend. The scene was initially scripted to be brief and straightforward, but during voice recording, the actors' chemistry brought new depth and nuance. The director encouraged them to improvise and explore the emotional subtext, leading to an extended take that was later integrated into the film. This spontaneous collaboration enriched the characters' relationship and deepened the audience's investment in their bond. Technical innovation also extended to the manipulation of frame rates. The animation team experimented with varying frame rates within scenes to evoke different moods. Action sequences were rendered at higher frame rates for fluidity and intensity, while slower, contemplative moments dipped into lower frame rates, creating a dreamlike effect that mirrors the protagonist's inner turmoil. This subtle manipulation of time and movement demonstrates the team's dedication to marrying technical mastery with emotional storytelling. One of the most unusual production stories concerns the film's title sequence. The typography was inspired by a fusion of futuristic architecture and traditional calligraphy, designed to evoke the film's thematic tension between innovation and heritage. The designers animated the letters to fragment and reassemble, symbolizing fractured identities and the process of self-discovery central to the narrative. This opening sequence sets the tone for the film, inviting viewers into a world where meaning is both constructed and deconstructed. The film's marketing also broke new ground with an interactive campaign that included an alternate reality game, ARG. Fans were invited to solve puzzles and uncover hidden clues embedded across trailers, posters, and online platforms. This immersive experience allowed audiences to delve deeper into the film's mythology and connect with the story on a personal level. The creators described the ARG as a way to blur the boundaries between fiction and reality, creating a community of engaged viewers who felt part of the unfolding mystery. Amidst the technical and creative achievements, the film's team often emphasized the importance of collaboration and trust. The director spoke openly about fostering an environment where ideas could be challenged without fear and where diverse perspectives were valued. This culture of openness led to unexpected innovations, from visual effects to narrative twists. The crew's shared passion for storytelling created a bond that carried them through the pressures of deadlines and the rigors of production. One particularly heartwarming anecdote involves the team's celebration after completing a challenging sequence. Animators and designers gathered for an impromptu party, sharing stories and laughter, a reminder that behind the screens and scripts are people driven by passion and camaraderie. This sense of community, the director noted, is what ultimately breathes life into the pixels and frames. The film's reception added a final layer of validation to the team's efforts. Despite the ambitious technical demands and layered storytelling, the film connected deeply with audiences across age groups. Viewers praised its ability to balance thrilling action with emotional depth, noting how the behind-the-scenes dedication translated into a compelling cinematic experience. This feedback inspired the creators, reaffirming their belief in the power of thoughtful, innovative filmmaking. Reflecting on the production journey reveals a narrative of perseverance, creativity, and serendipity. From technical challenges that became artistic triumphs to moments of improvisation that enriched the story, every aspect of the film's creation is a testament to the magic that happens when talent and vision align. So the next time you watch the film, take a moment to appreciate not just the story on screen, but the countless stories behind it, the accidental shadows, the voice that grows with the character, the hum of a vending machine turned music, and the passionate team that dared to dream beyond the ordinary. These are the production insights and fun facts that make the film not just a work of art, but a living, breathing experience. There's a unique kind of storytelling that unfolds not through dialogue or character, but through the very spaces a film inhabits, the streets, the rooms, the sprawling vistas that become silent witnesses to everything that happens. In this film, the setting is not merely a backdrop. It is an active participant, a character in its own right, breathing life into the narrative and shaping the emotional landscape in ways that linger long after the story has ended. The locations, the architecture, the color palettes, and the camera work all weave together to create an atmosphere so immersive that you feel transported, not just watching a story, but living within its world. The film's primary setting is a city that exists somewhere between the present and a near future, imagined with vivid clarity. It's a metropolis that pulses with sleek technology, shimmering skyscrapers, and digital billboards flickering against the dusk sky. Yet beneath this veneer of modernity lies a city of contrasts, a place where cold, angular lines of corporate and governmental power clash with the organic curves of nature struggling to reclaim its space. This juxtaposition is not accidental. It is a deliberate choice that echoes the story's core themes of control versus freedom, order versus chaos. Walking through the city's streets, you notice the details. The glint of rain on asphalt, the reflection of neon signs in puddles, the hum of drones overhead. The urban landscape is at once familiar and alien, a testament to the film's careful world building. The setting feels lived in, not sterile. Sidewalk cafes spill into narrow alleys, graffiti tags peek out from under layers of glossy advertising, and the distant chatter of street vendors mingles with the mechanical drone of security systems. This richness of environment invites viewers to explore every frame, discovering hidden textures that deepen the story's realism. One of the most striking elements of the cityscape is its use of light and shadow. The cinematography plays masterfully with illumination, using pools of light to create islands of warmth amidst vast expanses of darkness. This interplay does more than set a mood, it visually articulates the emotional undercurrents of the narrative. Bright neon signs and holographic projections blaze like beacons of hope and progress, yet they cast long, ominous shadows that hint at secrets lurking just out of sight. Night scenes are especially evocative, drenched in deep blues and purples punctuated by the occasional flicker of electric signage. The rain-slicked streets reflect this glow, creating a kaleidoscope effect that feels both dreamlike and charged with tension. The cinematographer's use of slow pans and tight close-ups within these settings heightens the sense of claustrophobia, as if the city itself is watching, waiting, and pressing in on the characters. The agency headquarters, the nerve center of the story, is another vital location that blends futuristic design with symbolic meaning. Its architecture is imposing yet sleek, with sharp angles and glass surfaces that create a sense of transparency paired with impenetrability. The building's interiors are bathed in cool, sterile light, emphasizing the clinical nature of the operations conducted within. Long corridors echo with footsteps, and minimalist furniture punctuates open spaces, all contributing to a feeling of detached efficiency. But beneath this surface of order lies subtle visual cues that betray the tensions inside. The reflection of characters in glass walls, the shadows cast by towering structures, and the occasional flicker of faulty lighting suggest instability beneath the polished facade. The setting becomes a metaphor for the agency's dual nature, both protector and oppressor, sanctuary and prison. The contrast between these institutional spaces and the city's more organic environments enriches the film's atmosphere. There are scenes set in quieter, more personal locales, parks with overgrown greenery, forgotten courtyards where nature peeks through cracks in concrete, and small apartments cluttered with memories. These intimate settings provide a counterpoint to the high-tech world, grounding the story in human experience and vulnerability. One particularly memorable setting is an abandoned industrial complex hidden beneath the city's surface. This location, with its crumbling walls, flickering lights, and tangled machinery, is imbued with a haunting beauty. It serves as a physical and symbolic underworld where secrets are buried and confrontations unfold. The cinematography here embraces shadows and muted colors, creating a claustrophobic and eerie mood that amplifies the tension. The film's use of color throughout these varied settings is masterful. The palette shifts to reflect mood and theme. Cool blues and grays dominate moments of isolation and uncertainty, while bursts of warm tones emerge in scenes of connection and revelation. The careful balance of color not only guides emotional responses, but also reinforces narrative arcs, subtly signaling shifts in tone and character development. In addition to lighting and color, the film's framing and camera movements play a crucial role in crafting its cinematic language. Wide shots establish scale and context, often capturing the city's sprawling expanse or the imposing architecture that dwarfs individual characters. These frames evoke feelings of insignificance and vulnerability, underscoring the protagonist's struggle against larger forces. Conversely, tight close-ups focus on expressions and small gestures, drawing viewers into intimate emotional moments. The camera lingers on eyes that reveal doubt, lips that tremble with unsaid words, or hands clenched in quiet resolve. This interplay between vastness and intimacy creates a rhythm that mirrors the narrative's oscillation between public conflict and private struggle. Dynamic camera movements further enhance storytelling. In action sequences, the camera sweeps and whirls, following characters through dizzying chases and sudden confrontations. These fluid motions convey urgency and chaos, plunging viewers into the heart of the conflict. In quieter scenes, slow tracking shots and deliberate zooms invite contemplation, allowing emotions to simmer and themes to unfold organically. The film also employs visual motifs that recur throughout the setting and cinematography, adding layers of meaning. Mirrors and reflections appear frequently, symbolizing duality, identity, and self-examination. Scenes where characters pass by reflective surfaces often coincide with moments of internal conflict or revelation. Similarly, the motif of fractured glass, shattered windows, cracked screens, visually represents broken trust and fragmented reality. Texture is another subtle but effective element. The juxtaposition of smooth, polished surfaces against rough, worn materials highlights contrasts between control and decay, appearance and truth. For example, the protagonist's sleek gear gleams against the gritty backdrop of the city's underbelly, visually underscoring the tensions he navigates. Sound design, while not strictly visual, interacts intimately with setting and cinematography to complete the immersive atmosphere. The ambient noises of the city, distant sirens, the murmur of crowds, mechanical hums, blend with musical scores that shift in tone and intensity to match the evolving emotional landscape. This synergy between sight and sound heightens the film's sensory impact, enveloping viewers in a fully realized world. The film's use of negative space within compositions is another noteworthy cinematic choice. Empty corridors, vast open plazas, and silent rooms linger on screen longer than expected, creating moments of pause that encourage reflection. These spaces are charged with meaning, often representing isolation, anticipation, or the weight of unspoken emotions. The absence of movement or sound in these frames amplifies the psychological tension, drawing viewers deeper into the narrative's emotional currents. Symbolism is woven seamlessly into the physical settings. For instance, recurring imagery of doors, closed, half-open, or forcibly shut, serves as a metaphor for opportunity, secrecy, and barriers. Characters' interactions with these thresholds often coincide with pivotal moments of choice or transformation, reinforcing the narrative's exploration of agency and control. The architecture itself tells stories. The imposing facades of corporate and government buildings embody the cold mechanisms of power, while the labyrinthine alleyways and forgotten spaces reveal the city's hidden histories and marginalized voices. This architectural storytelling invites viewers to read the environment as text, uncovering subplots and themes embedded in stone and steel. Natural elements contrast with the urban environment to powerful effect. Scenes featuring rain, fog, or greenery offer moments of respite and symbolism. Rain, for example, often accompanies scenes of cleansing or emotional release, washing away pretense and revealing truths beneath. Fog shrouds characters and settings in ambiguity, mirroring uncertainty and the unknown. The film's climactic sequences leverage setting and cinematography to heighten stakes and emotional payoff. The cityscape transforms from a backdrop into an active arena, streets become battlegrounds, rooftops turn into precarious stages, and underground tunnels echo with urgency. The dynamic use of camera angles, low shots emphasizing danger, high vantage points capturing isolation, immerses viewers in the physical and emotional peril. In these moments, lighting shifts dramatically. Harsh artificial lights clash with natural shadows, and color contrasts intensify to reflect the chaos and moral complexity unfolding. The cinematography embraces a kinetic style, using rapid cuts and swirling camera work to convey the tumultuous climax, yet never sacrificing clarity or emotional resonance. Throughout the film, the interplay between setting and cinematography serves a higher purpose, to externalize the characters' inner journeys. The environments they inhabit echo their fears, hopes, and transformations. Spaces become extensions of psyche, and visual storytelling deepens narrative impact. This thoughtful integration elevates the film beyond a mere visual spectacle. It creates an immersive experience where every frame contributes to meaning and mood, inviting viewers to engage intellectually and emotionally. The city's lights and shadows, the textures and reflections, the pacing and framing, all converge to craft a cinematic language that speaks without words. The film's atmospheric setting has also contributed significantly to its reception and legacy. Audiences and critics have praised how the visual and spatial design creates a palpable sense of place that enhances the story's themes. The setting's authenticity and detail invite repeat viewings, as each exploration reveals new facets and symbols. In conclusion, the film's settings and cinematic elements are far more than aesthetic choices. They are foundational to the storytelling, shaping tone, mood, and meaning in profound ways. Through masterful use of architecture, light, color, camera work, and visual motifs, the film crafts a world that feels alive and resonant, a world where setting is story, and every frame invites us to look deeper and feel more fully. As we immerse ourselves in this richly constructed environment, we come to understand that the film's true power lies in its ability to transform space into emotion and place into narrative. It is a testament to the artistry of cinema, where visuals and sound coalesce to tell stories that linger in the heart and mind long after the screen goes dark. The story behind the story, the making of a film, is often a tapestry as rich and intricate as the movie itself. It's woven with moments of laughter, tension, camaraderie, and relentless creativity. In the case of this film, the behind-the-scenes journey was no different. It was a voyage marked by surprising discoveries, unexpected friendships, and challenges that tested the spirit and ingenuity of everyone involved. To truly appreciate the magic on screen, it helps to glimpse the vibrant world that birthed it, the studio buzzing with energy, the cast and crew navigating obstacles, and the small moments that revealed the heart beating beneath the animation. From the very beginning, the atmosphere on set was one of collaborative enthusiasm. Though the film relied heavily on cutting-edge technology and digital artistry, the production environment was warm and human. The director was known for cultivating an open, inclusive space where ideas flowed freely, and every voice mattered, whether from a veteran animator or a newcomer stepping into voice acting for the first time. This culture of mutual respect fostered a creative synergy that fueled innovation throughout the project. One of the most charming behind-the-scenes stories centers around the voice recording sessions. The young actor who voiced the protagonist was just entering adolescence when the project began. Early in the process, he arrived at the studio nervous but eager, unsure of what to expect. The cast and crew quickly rallied around him, offering encouragement and playful support that helped him relax. During one particularly emotional take, the actor's voice cracked unexpectedly, a moment that might have flustered a less experienced performer. Instead, the director encouraged him to keep going, capturing the raw vulnerability in the scene. This authenticity became a defining feature of the character's voice, resonating deeply with audiences. The dynamic among the voice actors added another layer of joy to the production. Though recording sessions often happened individually, the team made efforts to bring the cast together periodically. These group sessions became a kind of creative playground, where actors improvised lines, explored character relationships, and shared laughs. One memorable occasion involved a lengthy blooper reel, filled with mispronunciations and playful ad-libs, which the director jokingly suggested could become a bonus feature. These moments of levity helped balance the intense emotional weight of the story. Behind the microphones, the animators faced their own unique challenges. The film's ambitious visual style demanded a high level of precision and detail, pushing the limits of available software and hardware. Animators recount late nights troubleshooting rendering errors and recalibrating sequences to achieve the desired fluidity. One particularly notorious scene involved a complex chase through the city's winding streets. Initial tests showed characters slipping awkwardly or environments glitching unpredictably. The team, driven by determination and caffeine-fueled persistence, worked for days to refine the animation, eventually producing a sequence praised for its seamless blend of action and emotion. Interestingly, technical challenges sometimes sparked creative breakthroughs. A software bug that caused unexpected color shifts in a sequence led the art director to experiment with new lighting effects. The result was a visually stunning scene bathed in surreal hues that enhanced the narrative's dreamlike quality. This instance exemplifies the production's adaptive spirit, turning obstacles into opportunities for innovation. The collaborative spirit extended beyond animators and voice actors. The sound design team, known for their experimental approach, shared stories of their unconventional recording sessions. To create authentic environmental sounds, they recorded everything from the rhythmic clatter of typewriters to the eerie hum of fluorescent lights. On one occasion, the crew ventured into an abandoned factory to capture atmospheric noises, braving creaking floors and unexpected drafts. These sounds were later woven into the film's auditory tapestry, enriching its immersive quality. The relationship between departments was marked by mutual respect and shared goals. Visual effects artists worked closely with composers to synchronize music and imagery, creating sequences where sound and picture danced in harmony. Editors collaborated with animators to fine-tune pacing, ensuring that emotional beats landed with impact. This cross-pollination of expertise forged a unified vision, despite the complexity of managing such a multifaceted production. Communication, however, was not without its hurdles. With team members spread across different countries and time zones, coordinating schedules and sharing feedback posed logistical challenges. There are anecdotes of midnight video calls, hurried emails, and moments of frustration when language barriers or technological glitches interrupted workflow. Yet these difficulties often sparked creative problem-solving and deepened the sense of camaraderie. One animator fondly recalled a time when a late-night brainstorming session, sparked by a simple miscommunication, led to a breakthrough in character movement that became a signature of the film. The director played a pivotal role in navigating these challenges. Known for a calm demeanor and openness to ideas, they maintained morale through moments of pressure and uncertainty. Regular team check-ins, informal chats, and shared meals helped foster connection despite physical distance. The director's belief in the project's vision was infectious, inspiring the crew to push through fatigue and setbacks with renewed energy. Another behind-the-scenes highlight involved the creation of a key emotional scene between the protagonist and his closest friend. Initially scripted as a brief exchange, the scene grew organically during recording sessions. The actors' chemistry sparked spontaneous improvisation, enriching the dialogue and deepening the characters' relationship. Recognizing this, the director encouraged the inclusion of these moments in the final cut, showcasing the power of collaboration and trust. The film's art department also tells tales of passion and perseverance. The process of designing the cityscape was exhaustive, blending research with imagination. Artists drew inspiration from a mix of real-world cities and futuristic concepts, painstakingly crafting every building and street. One memorable story involves a team member who spent hours capturing photographs of rain patterns on glass windows to perfect reflections in the animation. Such attention to detail contributed to the film's richly textured environment, making the setting feel tangible and alive. The production wasn't without moments of humor. During a particularly long day of voice recording, a lighthearted prank was played on the lead actor. His microphone feed was momentarily swapped with a sound effect of a barking dog. The ensuing confusion and laughter broke the tension, reminding everyone of the joy inherent in creation. These lighter moments balance the intense focus required for other aspects of production. In post-release interviews, cast members expressed gratitude for the opportunity to contribute to a project that transcended entertainment, touching on its potential to inspire and comfort. They spoke of receiving heartfelt messages from fans who found solace in the film's portrayal of struggle and hope, underscoring the power of storytelling to forge empathy. Behind the scenes, the cast's camaraderie blossomed into lasting friendships. Group interviews revealed shared rituals, celebratory dinners after recording sessions, playful exchanges during rehearsals, and support during emotionally taxing moments. This off-screen dynamic enriched on-screen chemistry, creating an authenticity that resonated with audiences. The director's reflections in later interviews highlighted the evolving nature of the project. Initial scripts and concepts transformed through collaboration and audience feedback, illustrating a fluid creative process responsive to insight and inspiration. They emphasized that the film's success lay in embracing complexity, both in story and character, allowing space for ambiguity and growth. The creative team also discussed the challenges of balancing narrative depth with accessibility. They aimed to craft a film that invited diverse audiences, young and old, casual viewers and critical thinkers, to engage on their own terms. This balancing act was reflected in the layered writing and multifaceted performances that could be appreciated on multiple levels. Audience testimonials often mention the film's lasting emotional impact. Many described returning to it repeatedly, finding new meanings with each viewing. The layered storytelling and rich symbolism created an experience that deepened over time, inviting reflection long after the screen went dark. In sum, the intertwining stories of the cast, crew, and audiences form a living dialogue, a testament to the collaborative spirit of filmmaking and the profound connections it fosters. The voices behind the characters bring humanity to animation, the creative minds behind the scenes shape immersive worlds, and the viewers carry the story into their own lives, enriching its meaning through shared experience. This dynamic interplay, the cast's dedication, the creative team's vision, and the audience's heartfelt response, creates a cycle of storytelling that transcends the screen. It transforms a film into a living narrative, one that breathes with the passions, struggles, and hopes of all who bring it to life and hold it close. There's a quiet kind of magic in the way a story reaches its end, not just the narrative conclusion on screen, but the reflective moment that follows, where the threads of plot, character, theme, and emotion weave together into something meaningful. As we come to the close of this exploration, it feels less like a final chapter and more like a gentle pause, a space to look back on the journey we've taken together and to appreciate the intricate layers beneath the surface of this film. We began by stepping into the vibrant world crafted by the filmmakers, a world where sleek cityscapes pulse with life, shadows hold secrets, and every frame is painted with intention. From the first moments, it was clear that setting was not just background, but a living character, shaping the mood and reflecting the inner struggles of the protagonist. The interplay of light and shadow, the careful balance of color and texture, the deliberate pacing of camera movements, all came together to create an immersive experience that transcends mere visual spectacle. Our journey continued deeper into the film's heart, unraveling the plot with its twists, revelations, and emotional beats. We followed a young hero wrestling with the weight of legacy, the fragility of trust, and the murky boundaries between right and wrong. Alongside him stood allies and adversaries, each carrying their own stories and contradictions, painting a rich portrait of a world where nothing is quite black and white. These narrative threads were not simply events, but mirrors reflecting universal human themes: identity, betrayal, growth, and redemption. Diving beneath the surface, we explored the themes and symbolism that give the film its profound resonance. Mirrors, broken glass, doors, and water all served as visual metaphors for fractured identities, shifting truths, and the journey towards self-understanding. The story's delicate balance between control and freedom, past and future, innocence and experience echoed through every scene, inviting us to reflect on our own lives and the legacies we carry. Behind the scenes, the voices and faces that brought this world to life revealed a story of collaboration and passion. The young actors, the dedicated animators, the visionary director, and the innovative sound designers all wove their talents into a seamless whole. Their candid interviews and anecdotes enriched our appreciation, showing that the film's emotional authenticity sprang from a deeply human creative process, full of challenges, laughter, breakthroughs, and shared dedication. And then there was the audience, the beating heart of any story's life beyond the screen. Their responses, ranging from quiet contemplation to spirited discussion, illustrated the film's power to connect across generations and cultures. Fans found in the protagonists' struggles reflections of their own. Parents appreciated the film's capacity to engage children with meaningful themes. Critics recognized its artistic ambition and layered storytelling. This vibrant dialogue between creators and viewers underscores cinema's unique ability to foster empathy and understanding. Through all these layers, setting, plot, theme, cast, and reception, we see the film as more than entertainment. It becomes a living conversation, a mirror held up to our own journeys, fears, and hopes. It challenges us to look beyond the obvious, to embrace complexity, and to find beauty in the uncertain spaces where identity and truth intertwine. As we draw this reflection to a close, I invite you to carry this conversation forward, to revisit the film with fresh eyes, noticing the subtle details and symbols that might have slipped past on first viewing. To engage with others, friends, family, or online communities, and share your own insights and questions, because films like this thrive not just in solitary watching, but in shared dialogue. If this journey through the film's many facets has sparked your curiosity, touched your heart, or challenged your thinking, I warmly encourage you to join our community. By subscribing, you become part of a space dedicated to thoughtful, in-depth exploration of cinema, not just surface reviews, but stories and analyses that delve into the soul of film. There are countless worlds waiting to be discovered, countless stories to be unpacked and understood. Here, we honor the art of storytelling in all its forms, inviting you to journey alongside us into the heart of movies that move, inspire, and provoke. Thank you for being part of this exploration, for listening, reflecting, and sharing in the wonder of film. Until next time, keep watching closely, feeling deeply, and questioning boldly, because the best stories are those that never truly end but live on in us.